Welcome to Toy-Polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now recently I've been showing some fixes on these vintage real Ghostbusters figures by Ken. I've done a video showing how to repaint and repair the tie on this vintage Fright Features Egon. Another figure that people have been asking me to have a look at is the Fright Features Peter Venkman. Now he has an intriguing little sort of mechanism, which is when you push in his arm, his hair pops up and his eyes pop out, and his eyes are on little stalks there. But because of that, the paint on the front of them is very susceptible to being rubbed away, and you quite often end up with figures that look like this one. So you can see here this poor version of Peter, the paint on his eyes has been worn away, and also the paint on his eyebrows has got a little bit sort of tatty, and when you get that, it doesn't look like an amazing figure, it just looks a little bit weird. So today I'm going to show you how to easily repaint the eyes and repaint his eyebrows to make him look properly scared again. We'll start with his eyes because those are the sort of most obviously sort of worn part of his face, and that makes him look a little strange when he doesn't have pupils on his eyes. Now the pupils aren't just little dots, you have a little dot and then a sort of little curved line that goes over the top of them. They look a bit more like Kermit the Frog's eyes than anything, and it's very hard to paint things that small, and so for doing that I don't actually use a paintbrush. What I've got here is a paintbrush that I've modified, and all it has in the end of it is a pin. So I've drilled a hole in the end and I've cut the end of a pin off and stuck it in there. Now this gives you much more control when applying paint, and it's certainly for doing something this small is a very good way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up my paints and then we'll apply that to his eyes. For the green, I don't have a green that matches perfectly, so I'm just going to be mixing a couple of them. I've got some Vallejo model paints here. This is 70.967, which is an olive green, and 70.953, which is a flat yellow. I'm going to mix those and I'll get something that's close. Once I've got that mixed, we can then go and apply it just using the point of this pin. So I've mixed my paint up, and now comes the tricky part, and that's actually drawing this on. So what you do is you get a very small amount of paint onto the pin head, and then you can just start to blob it on, and you only need a tiny little amount. I'll just do the main sort of iris parts first. This is a lot easier to do when you don't have a camera in the way. You can see on that one I've made a slight mistake already, so what I'll do is I'll just quickly rub that away. That's the great thing with this sort of paint, it does take a little while to dry, so if you make mistakes, just go back, remove it and start again. So I'll just let the camera focus and we'll try that one more time. And go slow. It's not a race doing this stuff, and you will make mistakes, it's just the nature of doing painting. So let's try that one more time. So I'm going to just drop the little bit in the middle. It's not looking bad. We'll do the other side. As I say, without the camera in the way, this is a much easier job. Now I'm going to try and do the line across the top. And I'll go back and do some tiny little modifications. I think that eye is not looking too bad. And likewise, they're not perfect, but that does make quite a big difference. So you can see using the pin and just sort of pulling the paint around, you can get some reasonable results. If you try to do this with a brush, it would be much harder, and I don't think you get something that looks quite as sort of reasonable as this. So we can now do exactly the same, and we'll do his eyebrows. So I'm going to mix up some paint. The eyebrows are not fully black, they've got a little bit of brown in them, so I'm going to again mix up a couple of paints. I've got some Humbrol acrylics here, number 33 and the RC402, so I'm going to mix those two together to get the brown that I want, and then we'll draw those on as well. But you can see putting his eyes back on makes a massive difference. I've now mixed up the paint for the eyebrows. Again, I'm going to do the same, just get a small amount on the end of this pin, and if I can get the camera to focus, let's paint this on. I don't think that looks bad at all. I'm going to bring in my original one just to see how far round the eyebrows go. They've got a little bit more of a point on the side. So I'm going to clean off most of the paint and see if I can drag a little point. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad at all. So we'll let that dry, and then that will be done. I think I may even put a little bit of a top coat on that, although it's incredibly small. But certainly putting his eyes and eyebrows back on makes Peter certainly a whole lot more displayable. And here is the final result. On the left is the one that is in my collection that doesn't have any paint touch-ups on it at all. That is how it came out of the box. And this is the one that I have now fixed. So you can see it makes quite a big difference just repainting those eyes. And using a pin is a much easier way to sort of get some control over the paint that you're applying. You obviously don't have to do what I've done there and make your own little tool, but I do this sort of so often that I thought I'd make my own brush just by sticking a pin into an old paintbrush, and that makes it very easy to work with. So it's a good little tip if you have time and if you've got an old paintbrush, have a go at making your own one. But that is how I repaint small features on figures. Now I hope this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.